Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we are going to talk about the Dungeons & Dragons campaign case, creatures, the Dungeons & Dragons campaign case, terrain, and the new bundles that are available, okay? All right, so let's jump into this, because this is huge for Dungeons & Dragons. So first of all, there's this big question right now. Actually, there's not a question. There's this massive wrong wave coming in from a bunch of people who don't understand technology talking about Dungeons & Dragons and saying Dungeons, and it's all 50-year-olds, okay? It's all 50-year-old males at the macro level saying Dungeons & Dragons is going digital. Oh no, what about me? I don't know how to click a mouse. Oh no, what about the FLGS? Oh no! Are people going to show up at my table with a phone? Like, and it's Professor Dungeon Master is part of it. OGGM is part of it. DM Bloodsworth is part of it. DM James is part of it. They're all like, oh, Dungeons & Dragons is going digital. No. You could not be more wrong. Dungeons & Dragons is not going digital, right? And I'm going to explain why. So first of all, let's take their point. They're like, oh, Scott, didn't you see that last two hires were Microsoft executives that are going digital? No, they're not going digital. They're playing catch up. In case you haven't noticed, every single product on the planet needs digital. Doesn't matter if you make toothpaste, doesn't matter if you make shoes, doesn't matter if you're a hotel and you provide a service, right? Doesn't matter what industry you're on. If you don't have a digital presence, you fail, period, end of sentence. Dungeons & Dragons is not going digital. With their hires, they are playing catch up. They are doing the hiring that they needed 10 years ago. The Dungeons & Dragons has always been a physical product, and like many products on Earth, it has dragged its feet on having the correct digital presence. Only now is it actually setting its digital presence to where it should be, okay? Now, next, okay, everybody's saying it's going digital. No, pay attention. It is going more physical than ever, okay? Now, there's a digital part of that, so let's talk about it, okay? Right now, something really unique is happening, okay? So first of all, we had, I think it was called D&D Now. I think it was called D&D. It was like, I think maybe D&D Digest. It was Ray Winninger. It was like 9 months ago, and they announced Spelljammer. They announced, both D&D campaign cases. They announced they announced Dragonlance, all in one show. Okay. And it was either called D&D Update or D&D Digest or D&D Now, one or the other, right? And it was one of their best digital promotions they had ever done. Because for once, they weren't scooped. People were they were actually dropping, really important, critical now information that nobody had scooped them on. And it was amazing, right? And I pre-ordered literally everything. I think I didn't pre-order maybe some of the Magic decks because those can get very expensive. I think you know what? I think in the same one, they announced Loader and they announced War. No, that was a later one. So I think I ordered at least 80-90% of what they and I ordered the campaign terrain case and the campaign, the D&D campaign case terrain and the D&D campaign case creature. And I got them months ago, right? And, well, you're like, if you got it months ago, Scott, why didn't you do a video? Because I'm so freaking swamped with stuff to talk about. Just so you're aware, no one commentator can even remotely comment on everything that's happening on Dungeons & Dragons. There's so much momentum on Dungeons & Dragons. Nerd Immersion, a lot of guys are just really struggling to even cover a fraction of what's happening, right? And honestly, I would love to talk about those cases, but I got them. I love them. They're fantastic. I got a lot of opinions about them. It hasn't made it to the top of the list. And by the way, some of my commenters asked me for videos, right? And in the old days, I could just squeeze them in. But there is an absolute tsunami of Dungeons & Dragons news coming out constantly now, right? So if you ask me to do, a specific series of videos, I'm really not trying to ignore you. I got other stuff on the list. My list, I keep my list in Trello, and it's got to have like 400 things I haven't gotten listed to. It's bonkers. All right, so here's the issue, right? Let's talk about the D&D campaign case terrain. If you buy the physical product for $65, you get the digital product for nothing. I'm sorry. I think you get it for $5. You get the Dungeon Master Guide for $5. If you buy the D&D campaign case, physical product, and it's a major physical product. There's a lot in it. Okay, there's maps. There's like grids. It's incredible. There's stickies. It's a whole thing. Okay, it's a great product. I really enjoy it. I think I paid $60 retail. Right. If I had waited, I could have paid $5 more and gotten the digital Dungeon Master Guide for $5. That is an amazing deal, right? Now, I'm very fortunate. I actually have access to the DMG through a player who played in my game and actually took my email and put me in as a player in their campaign, right? And so I actually have access to a whole bunch of books, right? Because I'm a player in a subscriber's campaign, right? D&D Beyond is not simple. But the fact that they are now saying you can get a core book for $5 if you buy this very physical product, that is the future of Dungeons and Dragons to me. They will get you to buy physical product and go, that stupid website, it's for schmucks anyway. If you get engaged, you're never going to use it. You're going to read the real thing. You're going to buy day one hard copy. That's where the real players are at. These schmucks over there playing D&D Beyond, whatever. You know. And the reality is, it's wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Because the reality is, the schmucks are playing on D&D Beyond. And it's useful. It's a nice tool. But if you a D&D baller, you got the hardcover. Oh, and boy, have we learned our lesson. You buy D&D hardcover day one. Day one. You better have it in your grubby little fingers, right? Because there's just so much happens on these books. You don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know if it's going to sell out. You don't know if something else is going to happen. But you better get it on. You better get that D&D hardback, D&D canon hardback in your grubby little mitts day one. And guess what? If you ain't doing that, you a schmuck, and you certainly just you should shut your flapping maw about D&D, because you don't matter, right? Now, the reality is, you do matter for a little bit of momentum and a little bit of money, but you ain't never going to determine the direction of anything. That's the key, right? So the reality is, these D&D campaign cases, okay, terrain, if you get D&D campaign case terrain, you get the DMG on D&D Beyond for $5, and honestly, that's a fair price. That's a fair price to like paying $30 for essentially PDF access. That's not a good. That ain't good for nobody, right? $5, I'm thrilled, right? Give me a hard physical thing, and then I get access to a non-physical book. That's a good deal. That you give me access to a D&D canon hardback online for $5. That's good for everybody. It's good for them. They're getting $5 more, and they're moving physical product. It's good for me. $5 is very fair for D&D Beyond. It's not. I don't want to say D&D Beyond doesn't matter, but it only matters if you're a D&D muggle, right? If you take what you get, right? Like, if you don't really know what you're even buying, you're a noob, or you're just like somebody who like believes what they're told, D&D Beyond's going to be great for you, right? But the people who matter on D&D Beyond, they got D&D canon hardback in hand day one. And if you don't, you a schmuck. You a side schmuck, right? Like, you just going to get what the rest of us determine you get. And that's the reality of it. Okay? All right, because the movers and the shakers, the people who are determining the path, right? They got hardback day one or negative day 30, right? Sly Flourish, perfect example, right? So that's, and then if you get D&D campaign case creature, you get the monster manual on D&D Beyond for $5. Good for everybody. This is the future of Dungeons and Dragons, with physical product, $60. Here, we give you the access to this, to D&D Beyond. It's not, it sucks. It changes for whatever we want it to change to. You don't know really what's in it. You don't really own it. Who cares, right? For $5, I'm all for it, right? But but if I put $60, if I put $50 down, I want that product to matter forever, right? And so that's why. So the reality is the future is, yes, digital's going to be there, right? And we need it there. We need it there for the 80% of people who get what we give them, and that's the issue. Wizards of the Coast is determining the direction of product. I am determining the direction of product. If you're listening to this channel, there's a chance you are listening. You are determining the direction of the product, right? D&D Twitterers are determining the direction of product, but D&D Beyond users are really not determining anything, right? They're just eating the pablum that's given to them, right? And it is valuable. It is important that it's there, right? And the reality, and here's why. Here's why too. Schmuck's going to become king, right? Somebody going to play D&D for 5 years on D&D Beyond, and then it's going to click, and they're going to go, oh my gosh, I see what D&D is, and they're going to get every D&D canon hardback they can. When I realized, I scrambled, and I've got PHB, MM, and DMG in the Gygaxian version, the Lorrainian version, the Dancian version, the Heinsoonian version, and the Burkinian version. 15 deep, right? And there's this point where you're like, oh, I'm not a D&D Beyond schmuck. I'm a real, I care about D&D. That's the thing. So this is huge. Oh, and just one level. There's so much here. What's this do for FLGSs? Ooh, it kicks them off a cliff. This is brutal for them. It does not help them in any way. There just ain't no way around that. All that is my very humble opinion. I'm eager to hear your humble opinion. Please consider like or subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.